Welcome back to the Southern Illinois Insider on 94.1 FM and AM 940 WMIX. I am Chad Baker. At this time, I'm being joined by Dr. Edric Williams. He is a minister, college professor, and father of 8 wonderful children. He lives with his wife, Dr. Carol Williams, here in Southern Illinois. He has earned his doctorate of ministry through Andersonville Theological Seminary. He currently teaches ethics and philosophy at Kaskaskia College over in Centralia, and he has written a book. It's a new children's book that fuses fantastical discovery with vital lessons of good character. It's titled Edric the Hatchling Gryphon. And Dr. Williams, we are privileged to welcome you to the Southern Illinois Insider today.
Thank you. Thank you.
First of all, tell us a little bit about what got you started with this character and developing the story for this book.
Well, the character of Edric is kind of a modge podge of all my kids and their characteristics rolled into one little character, which I'm going to remedy in the second book. But Edric is a little character that's a Gryphon that's full of life and discovery, and he's always wanting to know something new and curious. So that balled up with the energy that he has to just kind of bounce into situations, kind of took my kids and rolled them into that character and made it just one little guy called Edric.
Now, for those of us that may be a little farther removed from literature class and may not understand it or may have never read stories about griffins before, what exactly is a griffin?
A griffin is a mythical character from Babylonian and Greek lore that is an animal that has a head of a bird, usually an eagle, with wings and front claws, and then the body of a lion.
Very good. So obviously there's you mentioned the fantastical discovery of this, and it's going to draw in a lot of science fiction fans and folks that may have a little bit more of a fantasy bone in their body, correct?
Right. Fantasy is probably the number one genre that people are looking at, especially on Amazon. They're looking at the children's fantasy area. But I guess it could fall into sci-fi. I'm not quite sure where it would fall in, but I wrote it more as mythical land that really doesn't exist. I mean, it's a mythical creature. The people are nondescript as far as any kind of culture or whatever. It's just kind of characters that are thrown together to make a story around a little griffin.
Now, in this book, we meet Eric, who is a woodsman and former soldier. He shares this discovery of strange-looking stone with his friend BC. Tell us a little bit about these particular characters and how they develop within the story.
All right. Well, Eric and BC are actually characters that are based on me and my wife, Carol. Eric is kind of the storyteller. He's the person telling the story of Edric and the things that are going on. I made him a woodsman and a former soldier just so I could get the character to be able to interact with the griffin and then go on into the adventure a little bit farther down the road. But you have to kind of read the book to understand. BC is a support character that has more of a down-to-earth tone to her. She's a lady of the woods, and she kind of has a good rapport with animals and nature, and she's the kind of person that can draw you back into reality instead of you being out there in the fantasy land all the time, which at the beginning Eric tends to do. So it kind of balances each of the characters out.
Spending time with Dr. Edric Williams. He is a professor over at Kaskaskia College in Centralia, and he has written a book, Edric the Hatchling Gryphon, which we're talking about today on the SI Insider. And Dr. Williams, you anticipate 3 volumes here, and this is the first book. Tell us a little bit about what you're kind of forecasting to develop whenever you get into the second and the third volumes.
Well, I don't want to give it all away, but
sure.
At the end of the first book, something special happens to Edric that nobody could foresee. And into the second book, he carries on that characteristic with the help of some orphans that he finds along the way. In the second book, there's a tragedy at the beginning of the book, and then Edric and his friends are drawn in to help remedy the problem that's created. And then in the third book, once you've read the first two, you'll realize that Edric is a whole lot more than what anybody anticipated, and he actually becomes a king over all of Gryphon kind, and makes a pact with the humans to kind of coexist and help each other, and which goes along with the whole theme of all the books together. It's teaching kids good character, how to get along, how they can work with each other in bad situations and whatever, and of course discovery and saving the curiosity.
Now, what is the timeline for the rest of the trilogy to come out? Are you currently in the middle of writing book number 2, or where's that about right now?
Yeah, right now I'm right at about chapter 5 or 6 of the second book, and we're working on character development. Basically, it's hard to just throw things together. You gotta plan it out. But I have the storyline already in my head. I'm just trying to get it on paper. The third book I already have outlined, but I don't have anything down on it yet. I also have a couple other projects that I'm working on in the back of my mind that take a little time. But these books, the second one should be out probably November, December, somewhere in that time frame.
Very good. You obviously have a day job here. You're a teacher of ethics and philosophy, a college professor at Kaskaskia College over in Centralia. How has that position prepped you for the world of fantasy writing?
Well, actually, I started writing before I became a professor over there at the college. Mm-hmm. My kids really inspired my imagination as far as the storyline and what the characters would be. My brothers are also included in this book. When you read about the 4 men that joined Eric in the campaign to defeat the Cyclops invasion that comes to the mountain, you'll find my brothers all wrapped up in that. So this is something that's been going on in my mind for a while, and I just took the time to write it. Now, as far as my work at Kaskaskia, I'm an adjunct professor there. We just developed a religion program for the college that they've asked me to teach the first course that's coming out this fall. Hopefully, that class will make and we'll be able to kick that off. So there's a lot of things, yes, that I'm doing right now that take up a lot of time, but I put Edric at kind of the forefront because, he's a super character, and I think the story needs to get out there.
I'll ask this because I ask it of every writer I talk to that has multiple volumes, be able to tell a story. And each writer is different. Is it more difficult to write the second book after you've already established at least part of the story than it is the first book? Or do you find it somewhat easier that the characters just gradually develop from there?
I think for me, it's becoming easier now to develop the characters as I go along because I already know basically what I've wanted the story to say. Mm-hmm. And since I've already established most of them in the first book, I'm just building on the characters that I already have. Now, I've added 6 new ones. I just lied. I've added 8, 9, 10, 11 new characters so far to the second book, and we'll develop some of those characters, and then we'll probably end up a few of them back in the third book.
What in popular culture could a person identify with that would make your book of interest to them? I mean, is there something that your book would appeal to certain fans of? Well,
my book would appeal probably to mostly children ages 4 through maybe the 7th or 8th grade, mm-hmm. As the key target that I was aiming at with the book. Story time with parents or grandparents would be great with this book. It's kind of a chapter book that you could read a little bit at a time or all at once. But it's a fantasy book that is written in a first-person narrative, telling a story, about a little griffin. So people that would have an interest in fantasy or, folklore or some kind of mythical lore would probably enjoy this book.
Very good. Final question before we talk about where we can find the book and where we can find you, and that is, you mentioned your doctorate of ministry from Andersonville Theological Seminary, so obviously you have a little bit of a spiritual background there. Tell us a little bit about how the spiritual aspect finds its way into this story.
Well, actually, I tried to keep this neutered in that area. Anytime that you're talking about good character, when you're talking about good character and wisdom and discovery, you're talking about the spiritual aspects of our lives. And I think that even through telling a story of a mythological creature, we can get some good moral character, find good moral character in the story. Talk about how Edric is helpful. We talk about, how he learns to share. We talk about how he learns to be courageous. We talk about how he learns wisdom and where that comes from. So in that aspect of it, translating, something that's ingrained in me for nearly 40 years, there's a lot of spiritualism in me, so it comes out in the book, of course. But I didn't write it as a book trying to reach out to people and do any kind of religious conversion. It's just a storybook so people can enjoy it and learn some good character and hopefully some good moral understanding along the way.
Sounds like it's going to be an excellent read for a lot of families. The book is Edric the Hatchling Gryphon. It is written by Dr. Eric Williams. You got a little bit of a book tour going on, some public appearances coming up. Tell us a little bit about that. On
August the 31st, I am scheduled on a Sunday afternoon to be at Barnes & Noble at Fairview Heights, Illinois, over by the mall. And then September the 27th, I am scheduled to be in Carbondale at the Barnes & Noble down there. So we've got a few Barnes & Nobles lined up. There's another one that's in the works. I'm talking to their CRM, and we'll have dates for that on our website soon.
Very good. And could you give us a website as well as other outlets on where we can find your book?
Right. Yeah, the website, I've got smartlivingguy.com down here, but actually the best way to get to it is edricthegryphon.weebly.com.
Okay.
And Weebly is spelled W-E-E-B-L-Y.
Okay.
That's edricthegryphon.weebly.com. And then you can also find the book on Amazon. It's in all forms, hardback, softback, and ebook. Also on barnesandnoble.com, same thing. You can find Edric on Google Play if you just type in the name for the book. You can find him on iTunes, and you can find him at Kobo.
Very good, very good. We'll be looking for that. Edric the Hatchling Gryphon. That book is available now. Dr. Eric Williams, we thank you for your time, and thanks for appearing today on the Southern Illinois Insider.
Well, thank you for asking me.
That's going to round out another edition of the Southern Illinois Insider. Join me again next Sunday morning at 11 a.m. on 94.1 FM and AM 940 WMIX for another